The crisis surrounding North Korea escalating. Washington's only carrier based outside America, USS Ronald Reagan, conducted what have been described as routine military drills in the South China Sea under the vigilant eye of China. F-18 Super Hornet jet fighters took off from the deck of the USS Ronald Reagan aircraft carrier on Saturday as two Chinese frigates maintained a line-of-sight vigil, Reuters reported. The U.S. regularly stages drills with its regional allies, South Korea and Japan, to demonstrate its strength to North Korea. The war games fuel fears in Pyongyang that they could be used as cover for an invasion. Last week the 100,000-ton U.S. Navy supercarrier Ronald Reagan conducted drills with Japanese warships south of the Korean peninsula, Japan's military said. Pyongyang, meanwhile, threatened a further hydrogen bomb test over the Pacific. Officers on the Japanese-based Reagan described frequent close-quarter surveillance from the ships of the People's Liberation Army Navy in international waters. Sometimes, they said, Chinese vessels steam in to check out the carrier en route to other destinations. Other times, Chinese frigates linger for days within the screen of U.S. ships and planes that protect the Reagan, Washington's only carrier based outside America. At times, the carrier crew, to ensure safe passage, will alert their uninvited Chinese escorts, should the Reagan sharply alter course, officers said. We've had no issues. They've been very professional, said Rear Admiral Mark Dalton, commander of Reagan's strike group, as well as the larger battle forces of the U.S. 7th Fleet. We see them on a regular basis, he said. As Dalton spoke, the midnight blue waters beyond the flight decks made for a crowded scene, with a U.S. and an allied Japanese destroyer also visible as the Reagan maneuvered some 400 nautical miles, 748 kilometers, from the Chinese coast. It provided a window into the strains of increased deployments and exercises by regional militaries, in part as they respond to the threat posed by Pyongyang's pursuit of nuclear and missile programs. Routinely carrying between 60 to 70 aircraft on board, the carrier sends between 80 to 100 sorties daily, the core of a dominant U.S. military presence in Asia that analysts believe China could still take years to supplant. In recent months, the 100,000-ton Reagan has exercised with allied Australian ships as well as Japanese forces. The South Korean Defense Ministry has announced it will exercise with the Reagan Strike Group in October.
The U.S. is expected to send its nuclear-powered aircraft carrier, the USS Ronald Reagan, to waters near the Korean Peninsula later this month to take part in combined exercises with South Korea's Navy. A Seoul defense official said on Sunday that the joint drills will take place in the East Sea around mid-October and will simulate the intercepting of North Korean ballistic missiles. The USS Ronald Reagan, based in Yokosuka, Japan, will likely come as part of a strike group with other warships including Aegis destroyers and nuclear submarines. This comes after the US flew B-1B strategic bombers and fighter jets near North Korea's border last week, which the regime then condemned and threatened to shoot out of the sky.
President Trump said he told Secretary of State Rex Tillerson he is, quote, wasting his time trying to negotiate with North Korea's leader. On Twitter on Sunday, Trump wrote, "Save your energy, Rex. We'll do what has to be done." He was referring to North Korea's Kim Jong-un as Little Rocket Man. On Saturday, the State Department said North Korea has shown no interest in pursuing talks on its nuclear and missile programs after Tillerson acknowledged the United States has been communicating directly with North Korea.
From the Trump administration on North Korea. Secretary of State Rex Tillerson admitting there is direct communication between the U.S. and Kim Jong-un's regime, raising the possibility of diplomatic talks with Pyongyang amid the heightened nuclear tensions. This after he met with Chinese leaders yesterday in Beijing. But you know, today, President Trump raised some eyebrows by tweeting this, quote, "I told Rex Tillerson, our wonderful Secretary of State, that he is wasting his time trying to negotiate with little rocket man." Then he added, "Save your energy, Rex. We'll do what has to be done." And we have a tweet from the State Department, Heather Nauert, today, which says that basically this is a message, it seems, directly to Kim Jong-un. It says diplomatic channels are open, but they won't be forever. So that's not a subtle message to, you know, stop your behavior and sit down and perhaps talk.
It's not a subtle message, Eric, and we have seen these mixed messages before. Remember Secretary of Defense Mattis saying that we have, quote, military options available to us. No one seems to know what those might be that wouldn't harm the people of South Korea or endanger our troops in South Korea or Japan. But the problem with North Korea is, and here I have to give President Trump a break, he inherited this mess from a succession of Republican and Democratic presidents who have tried to solve the Korea problem and haven't been able to do so. And we have a young, brash, 33-year-old dictator who's racing ahead in his military program to try and get a weapon that the United States will have to pay attention to as an instrument of regime survival. So let's just hope that those who say that Mr. Kim is actually intent on self-preservation as opposed to suicide, let's just hope they're right. But let's stand back also and ignore for the moment the president's tweets and look at what's happening on the ground. At long last, there seem to be some back-channel talks going on. This would be a good thing because, as Rex Tillerson said, everyone, and I assume he means the president and that as well, needs to lower the temperature a bit.
But, you know, Judy, the talks, and there's a point you talked about the president inheriting this. I mean, he just had a tweet within the last hour. Expressing that exact situation. This is what he says. He says, being nice to Rocket Man hasn't worked in 25 years. Why would it work now? Clinton failed, Bush failed, and Obama failed. And he adds ominously, I won't fail.